السلام عليكم. في مثل هذا اليوم في 19/11/2015 يعني العام الماضي دعيت لمقابلة على قناة الجزيرة الإنجليزية للحديث حول حظر الحركة الإسلامية اللي كان صار قبل بيومين، يعني في 17/11/2015. يومها وانا رايح على الاستوديو بتصلني رسالة من شخص اللي هو مباشرة انا عرفته لاني حافظ اسمه، اللي هو شخص انا تعاملت معه سابقا مرتين. عملت له شغل ترجمة انا بصفتي يعني الحمد لله عندي شركة لخدمات الترجمة. فوقتها وطبعا شخص يهودي يعني، وتعاملت معه بهاي الصفة، يعني انه صفة بزنس خالصة. وحتى بعديها الحمد لله يعني اعطاني مهمه جدا صعبه يوميتها، لانه الحمد لله نجحت فيها نجاح ممتاز. اعطاني ريكومنديشن، توصيه او تزكيه جدا قيمه، ومدح فيها شغلي واثنى عليه، وحتى حول لي زباين جداد ثانيين. هسا لما بعث لي الرساله هي وانا بطريق الاستوري استغربت كثير، حتى ارتبكت، يعني انه شو بعث لي هذا؟ ليش بيسالني هذا؟ الرساله شوف اللي مبينه على الشاشه، ليش بيسالني اذا انا رايح على الاستوديو واسع على الجزيره؟ شكيت بصراحة بإشي، وللأسف طلعت شكوكي صح. تبين لي بهذيك اللحظة إنه هذا الشخص كان في ماضيه خادم كمستشار إعلامي لشارون، أو خادم كمان أو مساعد إعلام واتصالات لنتنياهو لما كان وزير خارجية، وأشغل عدة مناصب أخرى إضافة لشغله بالبزنس المستقل يعني. بهذيك اللحظة أنا كنت جدا مرتبك إنه هذا الشخص أنا بعرفه كزبون لإلي وبده يطلع ضدي على الجزيرة، قناة الجزيرة الإنجليزية، ليدافع عن قرار نتنياهو في حظر الحركة الإسلامية، يعني يعطي شرعية لقرار حظر الحركة الإسلامية. ولما شافوا اسمي قبل بنص ساعة، طبعا هذا من المقابل، لما شاف اسمي كمان هو ارتبك كثير. فهو بعث لي بقول لي معاذ هذا أنت اللي رايح هذا أنت اللي رايح على مقابلة على الجزيرة. وانا كانت الافكار طبعا يعني براسي نفسها، هل هذا هو متشيل باراك اللي هو رايح على قناة الجزيرة الإنجليزية اللي أنا عملت معاه بزنس؟ باختصار بالأول توترت، بعدين قلت يعني إن شاء الله ربنا بعين، لأنه الإشي مش لإلي إنما موقف لله يعني. ولكن الحمد لله بتوقع إني أعطيت إجابة وافية وكافية. شوف المقابلة والنص والحوار.
Israel has banned the northern branch of the country's Islamic movement. Israel says it's all part of an effort to help fight what the West calls the war on terror, but Israeli Palestinians call it persecution to cover up Israel's security shortcomings. This is Inside Story. Hello there and welcome to the programme. I'm Nick Clark. Israel's decision to ban the northern branch of the Islamic movement has stirred controversy among Israeli Palestinians, as well as some members of the Israeli security establishment. The Islamic movement, which has a northern and a southern branch, says its aim is to contribute to and strengthen the social fabric of Muslims living in Israel. But the Israeli government sees it differently.
דמוקרטיה חייבת להגן על עצמה.
Democracy must defend itself. It must defend itself from those who undermine it. The Islamic movement's northern branch in Israel undermines the state. The movement incites violence against innocent civilians and has close relations with the Hamas terrorist organization. And they undermine the state with the aim of replacing it with an Islamic caliphate. As the one responsible for the security of the state, I will not allow this, and therefore the cabinet led by me has decided to outlaw the Islamic movement's northern branch. We have nothing against Islam. We have nothing against the Muslim citizens of Israel, who enjoy full, equal rights. Most of them abide by the law. But we will definitely continue to act against those that incite, against those of them that encourage terror. Our aim is to prevent incitement that contributes to harming innocents.
Well, Israel's Minister of Public Security, that's Gilad Erdan, echoed the Prime Minister's comments. He said the state of Israel must serve as an example and a spearhead in the struggle against extremist Islam, whose emissaries we saw butcher innocent people in Paris, New York, Madrid and Israel. Well, that link the Israeli government is trying to make is what casts fear among Israeli Palestinians. Critics of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu say the timing of the decision is political, with the ban announced right after the Paris attacks. The Islamic movement has never publicly aligned itself with any organization accused of carrying out attacks. The group has two branches, as I say, one in the north, one in the south. The one in the north is more conservative than its southern counterpart. It says it advocates for the protection of the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound and campaigns against any Palestinian concessions to Israel. The northern branch has been banned for what Israel calls its close ties to Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. Sheikh Raed Salah is the leader of the group. He's been sentenced to 11 months in prison, accused of inciting violence. He has previously told Al Jazeera that the charges against him are politically motivated. So there we have it. For more on this, we're joined now by our guests in Nazareth, Muad Khatib, who's a member of the Islamic movement. In Jerusalem, we're joined by Mtshil Barak, who's the founder of the Kivon Research Strategy and a communications consultancy. Mtshil has worked extensively serving as an advisor to many Israeli heads of state. Also in Nazareth, Mohammed Zidan, director of the Arab Association for Human Rights. Gentlemen, welcome to you all. It's good to see you here for this important discussion. Muad, if I could start with you in Nazareth. As we alluded to there in the introduction, Prime Minister Netanyahu says there is a significant body of evidence linking the northern branch of the Islamic movement to Hamas. What do you say to that?
Thank you for having me. First, let me please just express something I see very important here. Mr. Mtshil Barak, your guest from Jerusalem, is someone I recognize as a client of mine. I work in the translation industry, and I did some work for him, and he actually praised it like no one ever did praise my work before. And here we stand as rivals today. I am against the decision of banning the Islamic movement, and he's apparently wants to promote and advocate it. And if this would indicate anything, I believe it indicates that we Arabs in general and the Islamic movement only want to live right and to obtain our rights and to live in dignity and in freedom, nothing more. In relation to your question, we in the Islamic movement, or what used to be the movement before its ban, believe that this decision comes within the context of targeting the whole Arab community in Israel. There has been no single proof or concrete evidence against the Islamic movement that shows and testifies that it is involved in one way or another in supporting what Netanyahu called terrorism, or that it has links with Hamas, or otherwise they would have presented those evidence. But in fact, Netanyahu just wanted to exploit the recent tragic incidents in Paris and wanted to show the world that, look, we also have Muslim or Islamic extremists in Israel, and their fate is the same as ISIS, or whatever it is called. But in fact, the Islamic movement was the first, and its leaders were the first among the Muslims in the world who went to condemn ISIL and its atrocities against Syrians before Europeans or citizens of Paris.
Right. And Mr. Netanyahu also saying that the Islamic movement has designs on an Islamic caliphate. Is that true?
The Islamic movement has a belief. It's a religious movement, and they believe that in some time in history there would be a caliphate like it was before. But there is no link at all with ISIL or any other terrorist organization that claims that it is a Muslim, or that it wants to bring about the establishment of the caliphate. So there's absolutely no link or no connection between the Islamic movement or the so-called ISIL, the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant.
Okay, let's bring in Mtshil Barak. Mtshil, I sense there's a certain amount of respect between you two, but probably no agreement on this issue. What do you say to what Muad has been saying? Apparently there is no connection between the Islamic movement north and Hamas and ISIL and so forth.
Well, I'll answer that, but first of all, I did use his services as a translator. I gave him an excellent recommendation on LinkedIn, and I stand by that recommendation. He is an excellent translator from Arabic to English, from Arabic to Hebrew, very conscientious, very talented. So it's interesting that we can both work together and be on the very opposite sides of this issue. So back to your question, it may be that there is or is not a connection with ISIL, with Daesh, with other organizations, and I don't think that that's the reason that the Prime Minister outlawed them. I mean, Muad said
that's what he said.
Yes, part of the movement's belief as a religious movement I know he just said it in the program, that one day there will be an Islamic caliphate here in Israel like there was in the past.
No.
Well,
I mean, that's what
Israel
Benjamin
is a
Netanyahu
democracy.
said. Benjamin Netanyahu said that, didn't he? He said that there was a link with Hamas.
Okay, so you'll have to ask him. I'm not his spokesman. I'm not going to answer for him. I'm going to say that your other guest from Nazareth, Muad Kateb, said that yes, it is true that we believe that one day there will be an Islamic caliphate here in what is Israel today. So it's not even a debate in democracy anymore. When you have an organization that says we want to overthrow the government, or we imagine that one day there will be an Islamic caliphate here and there won't be a government of Israel, and they don't participate in elections, and they don't recognize government institutions, then that's really not part of the debate. But the connection with the Hamas is not what was outlawed. That was not the main reason. I think the main reason that the Prime Minister felt so compelled is because a lot of this terror that's going on in the past 6 or 8 weeks is based on incitement. And that incitement is coming out from the Islamic movement, specifically with the northern branch. And again, the Israeli government can separate between the northern and southern branch. The southern branch is okay. It's within the law. They participate, they vote, they're in the Knesset, and so forth. The northern branch, I mean, I can read you from the Facebook post, from the articles of Sheikh of the Sheikh. We're going to redeem Al-Aqsa with blood. Now is the time for everyone to be called on an intifada, and even if it means martyrdom, it's time to meet Allah.
All right, okay.
Meaning,
We'll come on
he's
to
saying things that are inciting,
Mitchell, we'll come
inciting to violence.
Fine, we'll come on to Al-Aqsa in a moment or two.
and-
I just want to bring in, we haven't got much time in this program, so we need to share the views around, but I will come back to you, of course. We've got to move it on. Muad, tell me, just before we go back to Mitchell, but tell me just exactly what the Islamic movement North does. What are its kind of social functions?
Yeah, well, the Islamic movement has lots and lots of organizations and institutions active on almost every field of the Arab community's lives inside Israel. Now, we must remind everyone here that the Israeli government is not giving the rightful rights to Arabs. I mean, there is lots and lots of discrimination in terms of budget allocations, whether it's in education, in infrastructure. Everywhere you would see that there's a discrimination in budgets. Now, the Islamic movement came to fill this gap. Now, there is institutions for promoting education, for even medical and health facilities and services. Of course, not to mention the religious aspect and the political, as well as social services. So let's mention, for instance, the Iqra institution, which is basically an institution for promoting and developing education within the Arab community. Why? Because there is, again, lack of sufficient funding by the government, because we are Arabs, so we don't deserve what we deserve as citizens. So the Islamic movement tries to fill those gaps, and the Sheikh Ra'id Salah's famous slogan was that we need to be a self-reliant community, because the government is failing to provide us with the sufficient needs.
Okay, Mitchell Barak. Let's put that to Mitchell Barak before we go on. So it seems as if, to me, even what we're hearing, that the Islamic movement North provides fills gaps in the community. It actually provides a good social service.
Yeah, it's a great social welfare organization. Except on their website in May 2014, it said, "Let us go together to Al-Aqsa Mosque and call Allah Akbar. The Muslims come day and night from the east and from the west, chanting, 'With spirit and with blood we will redeem you, Al-Aqsa.'" Would you like some more quotes? I don't think you really need it. Meaning, I think that the Sheikh Salah has said enough things about fighting the occupation, about martyrdom, about imagining people meeting Allah from the Temple Mount. I think the incitement is enough. And a lot of what we're seeing here in the last 8 weeks in Israel, the attacks that are carried out by everyone, and what we're seeing in Paris are people that are reacting to incitement. Now, the interesting thing is, if you remember in the beginning of my remarks, I separated between the northern Islamic movement and the southern Islamic movement in Israel, and I said, in the southern Islamic movement in Israel, they vote in elections, they're part of the Knesset.
Okay.
It's ludicrous.
You've made that point already.
Can complain about that he can complain about financing and not getting budgets when they don't participate in the elections and they're not in the Knesset.
Okay,
Who's going to look out for them in the Knesset if they're not participating and becoming elected?
But sorry, I mean, we are talking about the Islamic movement, and you bringing in quotes from here and there. You can't just justify such a decision to ban this very major movement, political movement that represents a very large portion of the Arab community by claiming that Sheikh Raed Salah said this. You have to bring real evidence that shows that the Islamic movement has been indeed involved in targeting or inciting against Jews or against Israelis.
It's from your website.
Just let me finish, please. Let me finish.
It's from
in fact,
your
the
website.
The
it's
most
from your
recent
website. I'll give you something else from your website.
No. Hold on, Mitchell. Let Muad speak.
Look, and when someone like Bennett or Lieberman or even Netanyahu said that anyone who is suspected of throwing stones on soldiers, he can be shot and killed on the spot. I mean, that's cold-blooded murder that happened about 90 times. About 90 persons, including 18 young men, children, were killed in the last 2 months only because they were suspected of throwing, or because they were
we
planning
need to move on. I need to bring in Mohammed Zedan.
But in fact, there was no real evidence.
I'm going to bring it. Mitchell Barak, isn't it right to say that the Israeli security services, Shin Bet, have for years advocated against such a ban?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not in the Shin Bet, but what I've seen in the media corroborates what you're saying, is that they took issue with the Prime Minister's decision to do that, which is part of a healthy democracy where the military has one opinion and
But they're the security services. They're the people that are paid to come up with the advice that perhaps the Prime Minister should listen to.
Very often there are debates, healthy debates. It's constructive conflict within governments. You have it in the United States, you have it in the UK, you have it in France, you have it everywhere else. Sometimes even sometimes within the security establishment, where the Shin Bet will say one thing, the Israeli security services, but the army says something else. That's healthy.
Isn't there a fear that if there are hardcore,
what is clear cut and should be stopped?
Isn't there a fear that if there are hardcore activists that they will become more radical, go underground, be harder to police?
Yeah, but I think a lot of what's going on here and the problem and what we're seeing in the past 8 weeks, meaning, I mean, the Israeli army is, when Muad says they're killing 90 suspects, that's not true. But when someone pulls a knife and starts stabbing someone, that's what he's referring to as a suspect, then we can agree. But when someone is in the middle of a terror attack, the army is going to stop that person. What's going on here, and a lot of these terror attacks, and a lot of where the Islamic movement in the north fits in, is the incitement. It's just everything that they say and how they do it. Again, the finest moment in our destiny is when we meet God as shaheeds in El Aqsa Mosque.
Okay.
The streets of Jerusalem.
We've been through this. We've been down this path before. We've been down this path before. You've already read. Okay, you've made that point.
I know, but when you say those things,
we've already made that point.
But when you say those things, and you have a guest. Okay, and you have a guest that talks about replacing the Israeli
government. Well, let's hear from that guest right now. Muad, what is your response to Mitchell?
You see what we're dealing with here.
Look, I think that when you need to judge someone or an entity, you have to judge them by their actions. And there is, again, not even one single concrete piece of evidence that shows that the Islamic movement has been involved. I want to ask Mitchell, my friend there, who killed Hadil al-Hashlamon? Killing of young, she was a lady trying to cross that one checkpoint in Al-Khalil, in occupied Al-Khalil. And because she refused to unveil her face, she is a religious woman, and she refused to unveil her face, she was shot and killed on the spot, without trial, without nothing, without any excuse. And that actually started what started the last wave of violence. I want to ask Mitchell, how many people were killed? How many Palestinians? About 90. How many Israelis were killed in the last wave of violence? And now you're telling me that there's someone that the Islamic movement is inciting. The Islamic movement does nothing save
we
or
had two people
calling people to pray in
today in Tel Aviv.
That's it.
By a Palestinian from Hebron.
Gentlemen, at that point, I'm going to cut in. I'm afraid we have now run out of time. Gentlemen, we have run out of time. We have to move on. Do appreciate all your perspectives on this. We're never going to agree, but the show has come to an end. So thank you very much indeed, Muad Khattab, Mitchell Barak, and Mohammed Zedan. Thanks very much.